we've all heard the big promise of the cloud, right? Agility, scalability, endless innovation. But for so many of us, the reality is, well, it's a story of runaway costs and a whole lot of unexpected complexity. Today, we're going to dig into why cloud adoption is so much harder than it looks, and how a really fundamental change in your mindset is the actual key to unlocking all that power.
Ah, yes. The question that keeps CFOs and tech leaders staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. You move to the cloud to save money, to be more flexible, but that monthly bill, it just keeps creeping up. And it's often totally disconnected from any real business value. And listen, this isn't just you. If you look at any industry report, managing cloud spend is the #1 challenge for pretty much everyone. So what is actually going on here?
You know, that out-of-control bill is just the most obvious symptom. You might also be dealing with security gaps that you can't quite pin down, or a total lack of governance, or just that nagging feeling that your team's skills and culture aren't really built for this new world. Maybe you're even worried about getting stuck with one vendor. The thing is, these aren't a bunch of separate problems. They all grow from the exact same root. And that brings us right to the heart of it, the core misunderstanding. The reason so many cloud projects go off the rails is because they're built on a completely flawed idea of what the cloud actually is. This slide just nails the two ways of looking at it. On one side, you've got the wrong view. The cloud is just a different place to put your servers. It's an IT purchasing decision. You're just renting someone else's computers. But the right view? It sees the cloud as a totally new operating model. It's a completely different way of working. This isn't about where your code runs. It's about transforming your business to be built on self-service and true dynamic elasticity. And hey, this isn't just my opinion. The official definition from NIST, that's the National Institute of Standards and Technology, lays it out perfectly. They define cloud by 5 key characteristics. Check them out: on-demand self-service, broad network access, resource pooling, rapid elasticity, and measured service. Think about it. If your cloud strategy isn't actively built to deliver these 5 things, you're missing the whole point. You're not really doing cloud, you're just doing expensive hosting. And this idea leads to a huge breakthrough on the cost problem. To get a handle on your spending, you have to change your entire perspective. You have to stop waiting for that shocking bill at the end of the month. Instead, you've got to treat cost as a design constraint right from the very beginning, just like you would with performance or security. It becomes an engineering decision, not an accounting cleanup job. Okay, so how do we actually put this new mindset into practice? Well, it all starts with one simple but incredibly powerful strategic flip that turns the whole usual process on its head. And here it is. This is the secret sauce. Before you even think about cloud vendors or their fancy service acronyms, you have to stop and deeply analyze the needs of your application, what we call the workload. You don't start by asking, should we use this service or that service? No. You start by asking, what does this specific part of our business actually need to do to succeed? So what kinds of questions are we talking about? Well, stuff like this. What is this system even for? Does it need responses in milliseconds, or is a few minutes okay? Is the traffic steady all day, or does it go crazy for an hour once a month? Are there legal rules about where this data has to live? And what's the real dollars and cents cost to the business if this thing goes down? When you answer these questions first, your choice of technology becomes a logical conclusion, not just a shot in the dark. All right, theory is great, but let's make this concrete with a real-world scenario. Let's pretend we're building an online educational platform. Instead of just throwing everything on a bunch of virtual machines, we're going to break it down by its specific jobs, its workloads. Okay, check this out. This is that workload-first approach in action. The front-end website needs constant updates and changes, so a platform as a service, or PaaS, is a perfect fit. That's a model where the cloud provider handles all the messy infrastructure stuff, so our developers can just focus on shipping code. Then you've got the interactive tests. They're short bursts of work that happen randomly. That's a textbook case for serverless functions, which only run and only cost money when a student actually takes a test. Next, video processing. That's a heavy, long-running job, so we'll use managed containers. They give us the horsepower we need for a long time, but without the headache of managing the underlying servers. And finally, the sensitive student data. That has to go into a managed regional database that guarantees the data never leaves a specific geographic region, keeping us compliant. See? 4 different needs, 4 different tools, all working together in one smart system. Now let's talk about the other big thing that causes anxiety: security.
The key here is to stop thinking of cloud security as this big, scary, undefined monster. It's not. It's a structured, shared, and totally manageable system.
And it all begins with understanding this one core concept, the shared responsibility model. It's actually pretty simple. The cloud provider, like Amazon, Google, or Microsoft, is responsible for the security of the cloud. That means the physical buildings, the servers, the core network. But you are always responsible for security in the cloud. That's your data, your configurations, and who you give access to. Think of it like this. The cloud provider is the security guard at the front door of the apartment building, but it's still up to you to lock the door to your own apartment. They handle the physical security of the data center, but your team has to handle the digital security inside your environment. Things like encrypting data, managing who has access, and setting up your network correctly. Knowing exactly where that line is drawn is the first, most critical step to building a solid security program. And here's the best part. You do not have to invent this stuff from scratch. There is a whole toolkit of proven, established frameworks out there just waiting to help you. Frameworks from NIST give you this massive catalog of controls for just about everything. The Cloud Security Alliance, or CSA, gives you tools built specifically for checking out cloud vendors. You've got international standards like ISO for protecting data. And even agencies like ENISA in the EU offer frameworks for figuring out risk. These are your roadmaps. Use them. So, let's bring this all home. If you only remember one thing from our time together, I want it to be this core message we started with. That's really it. At the end of the day, winning in the cloud is not about picking the fanciest technology. It's about getting your entire organization to adopt the right operational model. It is a fundamental change in your culture, your processes, and your mindset that puts the workload first and treats cost and security as non-negotiable design principles. It's about using the cloud for what it truly is, a whole new way of delivering value. So, what's your path forward? Here are the 4 things to focus on. First, go back and become a champion for this mindset shift. You're not renting servers, you're adopting a new model. Second, make workload analysis the absolute mandatory first step for every single project. Third, build your security program on that clear foundation of shared responsibility. And finally, don't try to go it alone. Use those established frameworks to guide your choices and to measure how you're doing. And that really leaves us with one final, and I think critical question to take back to your team. I want you to look honestly at how you work today. Are you truly managing the cloud as a dynamic, powerful operating model, or are you just running your old habits in someone else's rented data center? The answer to that question, well, that's what will determine your success.